All right, Robert.
Hi.
Hi. How much would you pay for a house?
Well, it's a function of what components it has, lot plus improvements.
Okay, let me ask you, I guess, a more specific question.
Hmm.
How much would you pay for this house?
Oh, well, that depends on whether it's at Bay and Bloor or at somewhere in the Queensway and far away east. I don't know. It's what can you do with a lot? It looks like there's buildings on either side of it that have been, recently expanded and enlarged.
Oh, all right. On this episode of Real Estate Chat with
John Perez.
and Robert Eid, we're going to be talking about what, well, not us ourselves, but what some have been calling a ridiculous real estate market because a house such as this, and we are, by the way, for real estate laws and compliance and rules and regulations purposes, we are simply quoting what has been published in BlogTO. Tiny Toronto home sold for ridiculous price sparks rage about the housing market. Sounds pretty aggressive, doesn't it, Robert? That this selling price of this, which is published, by the way, on BlogTO, neither Robert nor myself as real estate brokers are sharing otherwise privately held information. We're getting it from a public resource. How much do you think this sold for? Forget about what we talked about earlier. How much do you think this sold for?
Okay, I'm looking at the buildings on either side, which are, again, depending on the street, $2 million. And so the land is a third of that, 750.
750. Well, you're wrong.
Oh,
This Toronto house in a place where the average price of a standalone or detached home is 1.57, you're close though. So about a third of that, $846,000. And they call it a steal in the city. And it's steal because obviously if you're looking at just price points, 1.57 being an average detached, 846 is a mere fraction of that. But we were looking at our friend Google Maps here because we wanted to see what kind of an area this was. And again, this is public Google Maps. And we happened to go down this particular street. And if you notice this street, Robert, how would you describe the housing on this street? And mind you, you're seeing
changing. It's a low class. It's a higgledy-piggledy neighborhood that is downtown. It's maybe Vaughan Road, maybe Rogers Road. Small lots. Some have lane parking, some have no parking. And so, like this house that you see building, they're building up with the garage under in order to solve the 25-foot or sometimes smaller parking limitations. And it's being reclaimed from ultra, uh, what would you call it? Being generous. It's a residential neighborhood with no name because it has no character, because it has a lot of rentals in it, and it has a lot of people that live there for a long time, and it's just a complete uh, planner's mess. Everything
well, I
is
mean,
different.
to
Everything is one of a time, one of a kind. It's built after the war, some before, some after. Like that 2.5 story that was built in the 20s. The one next to was built in the 80s, 70s rather.
hmm.
These for
Well, how would these so I mean I'd like to say that there is character. I mean there's all sorts of character because there's a whole bunch of different character in this particular neighborhood. But Robert, going back in like I guess historical real estate, you pointed out a good point here is that there is a mix and all sorts of different things going on here because of different ages of homes. And when I guess when this subdivision was built, Robert, why is the reason why, or what is the reason why some houses look older than some of the newer ones? Did they I guess historically for my own learning and for the learnings of real estate chat viewers who have clicked like and subscribe, when they were selling this neighborhood, was it lots that they were selling and you can
Yes,
build
that's
your own
right.
house?
That's
Was
right.
it
Well, some people built their own house. Sometimes a builder would buy 10 lots and build, two of them this year and two of them next year and two of them next year. And this is the way it was done before planning. This was before, definitely before the war. or maybe immediately thereafter, where they just wanted to throw up something to give accommodation to some people. And we'll find there's uh, the needs of people were different then. They're different materials. There's no consistency. We talk in the real estate community about conformity and homogeneity. That highest value comes from neighborhoods that possess a high degree of conformity and homogeneity, that they're all in the same kind of frontage, they're all the same kind of house, they're all built of the same kind of material. And the reason for that is there's no surprises. Nobody likes surprises. They're going to spend $2 million. They want every house on the street to be comprised of buildings that are the same as theirs, and the people who occupy them have the same demographic and same ambition for their family.
Well,
So
you hear the terminology. You buy either the smallest house or the worst house on the street, or you buy the smallest house and house a big. You buy the smallest house in a street of bigger houses, or you buy the worst house in a
in a great
street of
neighborhood, yeah,
in a great
exactly.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so I think this is an illustration of that. But Robert, somebody who bought this house for 846,000, and you noticed as we were journeying in Google Maps, which I'm sure was taken a couple of years ago, and you look at the blog TO article, which we've linked in the description, you can see the differences. And this house is literally the filling of a sandwich of a mega house beside it, slices of mega houses beside it. What does a person buying something like this do with a house like that? Number one. Second question, you're going to do a 1-2 here, is, you know, the bigger houses are in the millions now. What compels somebody to now move into this neighborhood and buy that extravagant house when they're surrounded by houses that are either rentals or just, for lack of a better term, average looking houses?
Okay, those are two questions. The first question is, what are they doing with it this time? They're buying it to build a new property on it. They bought the lot, and that's all that is. The cost of the existing structure to demolish it and remove it and get permits to demolish it and to build a new structure that's completely different are costs rather than buying raw land. And so they're going to put a new building up that will resemble the ones on either side of it, that someone will come along and say, okay, I'm 5 years ahead of the game. I'm 10 years ahead of the game for this street, but it is redeveloping. It's gentrifying. It's becoming what I want it to be. And by the time my baby is old enough to know any different, the street will be complete. Like if you drive almost anywhere between Bathurst and Bayview in the older sections where the houses are smaller, you got construction on every single block. You got crews going hammer, hammer, hammer on every single block. And if you go over Avenue Road and Lawrence, like it's a construction site, even though it's 10 individual.
So that's where it's going. That's where it's going, basically, is that,
it's being gentrified. Yes.
10, 20 years from now, this will be multi-million-dollar homes, and you won't see houses like that eventually. Not 10,
It's
20
going
years,
to
maybe
replace
longer.
every house that's outmoded with the price of the land component now will be replaced with something bigger, and the neighborhood will change. No matter how lousy it is now, it will change. Just like sometimes people a long time ago, people looked down their nose on Chinatown, on Kensington Market, on Cabbagetown. They looked down their nose at the East End, Riverdale, and what have you. And they don't anymore because they've all been
Gentrification, I guess the word for it. So, Robert, you have said on previous episodes for our Real Estate Chat viewers who have watched those episodes to buy in these areas of change, to buy on that main street, to buy where there's development. Would you have recommended a buy like this? Number one. And number two, again, with the 1-2s, is if a Real Estate Chat viewer happens to see that next house that looks like this and that's listed for sub 1 million amidst a whole, there's lots of these areas in Toronto, mind you, amidst a neighborhood where this is happening, should they jump on it even if it goes into multiple offers?
Yeah, that's 10 questions.
Okay.
But this type of property is for wholesalers. It's not for Tom and Sally average with 1.5 children, because they can't live there. The highest and best use for that piece of property is to be redeveloped. Why no? So you're not going to buy an antiquated property with great upside potential, because you can spend $850,000 better than that. If you got to be in that neighborhood, well, maybe you do it that way, and then you move out for a year and they build around you. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think it's a wholesaler who's, he's in the business. A contractor's bought it as a product, and then he's got a crew, and he's going to change it into
Well,
modern house. So
Then,
you buy, again, it depends on which category you fall in. If you're a first-time buyer, last-time seller, buy to sell customer, investor who's in the money, investor who's underwater. People who are buying something to resell it are, and not novices at it, are active in the market right now because there are many things that are available that first-time buyers, second-time buyers are turning up their nose at because it has too much work. But if you know how to do the work and you can transform the property into something else, then that's what you're looking for. But they're two different categories, wholesale and retail. Most of the time we're dealing with retail where someone is buying it to live and they'll do one thing. They'll do one kitchen, one bathroom, one whole paint job, one whole outside, but they won't do everything, which is what some of these places need.
all right, well, there will be a follow-up to this, so stay tuned, Real Estate Chat viewers. Make sure you keep watching our channel so that when we find out what has been done to this particular property, whether they demolish and build a bigger, massive, gargantuan one on top of it, or if they keep it the same, we will let you know. Thanks for watching this episode of Real Estate Chat. Take care and bye for now.
See you later.